Well, let's begin our news review, shall we? We're joined by the political journalists. It's Zoe Grunwald and Charlotte Griffiths, editor-at-large of The Mail on Sunday. Happy New Year to you both. I'm wondering when that stops, when we cut off the New Year greetings, but we'll get away with it for today. Shall we kick off with the front page of The Telegraph, Zoe? So the headline is talking about the poor getting poorer under Labour, despite Sir Keir Starmer's pledges to rise people out of poverty and you know, obviously connecting the north as well to more services. It's an interesting take, isn't it?
Yes, so this is from an organisation called Retail Economics, some research from them that shows that spare cash left over after bills and essential spending for the least affluent families has shrunk by 2.1% since Labour was elected in July 2024. And of course, this is going to be a big blow for Keir Starmer, who has basically rested the success of his government on making people feel better off and achieving economic growth. They point to how cost of bills have gone up, essentials, utility spending, but of course also there's concerns about stealth taxes, you know, people paying more out of their wages and having to deal with rising bills at the same time. Some of this is, you know, the result of this Labour government's own policies, but I think most of this is just a result of the and an impact of the very, very historically low levels of productivity we have. We have issues with getting energy companies to rein in their bills, you know, price gouging in supermarkets, and of course the cost of housing is extortionately expensive in this country. It's very, very difficult. These things are not going to be solved overnight, but I think there is a general worry in the rest of the papers and the political coverage we'll get onto about whether the government really has a grip on this issue, and if not, whether we'll continue to see voters depart the centre ground and move towards parties like Reform UK.
Yeah, and that will all come to a head potentially, Charlotte, in May in those local elections, and the paper focusing on how Reform say they're going to be spending quite a lot on those local elections.
Yeah, so Nigel Farage has said it's double or quits. He's going to spend every penny he has, which is to the tune of £5 million, which is quite a lot for a sort of campaign spending on a local election. He's had a £9 million donation from Christopher Harburn, very little known kind of tech financier. And he's absolutely going for gold. He's saying, if this doesn't work, you know, at least I would have given it my all kind of thing. So, yeah, he's spending a lot of money while the rest of us are saving.
And it's part of the problem, I suppose, some critics of Labour have said, is that Keir Starmer has failed to get a grip of the narrative and failed to land some of the policy changes that they have made in government and communicate that to the electorate.
And in the inside pages of the Eye, they're talking about how Keir Starmer's going to set out a bit more of a vision next week about how he wants to help families with the cost of living. And in that, he's going to talk about the policies that, as you say, the Labour government has already introduced. So they talk about 6 interest rate cuts, which have been a result of policies from this government, falling inflation, frozen rail fares and prescriptions, help with energy bills, an increase in the national living wage, free breakfast clubs. I mean, all these things sound great, but I think when it comes to people still feeling like the cost of their housing is going up, you know, we may have got a rail freeze, but rail fares are really still very expensive for a lot of workers across the country. House prices, you know, supermarket prices continue to go up. All those things, while important, they don't really scratch the surface to the fact that people just do not feel better off. They still feel like costs are going up. They still are struggling with their wages. And then when you get headlines about unemployment going up, you know, you get headlines about companies no longer feeling confident with being able to pay their employees. There are now conversations about longevity of pensions. All of these things, I think, add up to a very insecure economic picture for a lot of voters. Whether just listing your achievements and saying, so don't you guys feel better off is going to be enough to assuage those worries, I think is a different question.
Not when you paid £100 for your train ticket and you're told, don't worry, it's going to stay the same price. And you think, well, why is it at £95?
When you can't actually get a seat and it doesn't leave the station.
Yes, exactly.
All of things like that really frustrate voters, doesn't it? Let's move on to the Daily Mail. And this is about Generation Z and the types of things that they're cutting out. So alcohol would be one, Charlotte?
I've got a very long list here. Caffeine. They're all taking vows of celibacy for a year. Sugar and UPS out the window. And they also have gone off workout DVDs, which is how when I was a teenager, you know, you always had workout DVDs in January. That's just so last year. And instead, they're having ice baths, IV drips, which sound expensive and complicated.
1 in 10 plan to hook up to an IV drip. I'm not sure whether that's, you know... first of all, where do you get them? How much are they?
Yeah.
They're quite expensive. They're popping up on high streets, these little IV clinics. But whether they do anything or not, it's impossible to tell.
I've done one. Anyone done an ice bath?
No,
come on.
That's definitely a trend that's passing by. I think what's really interesting about this is clearly Gen Z are a generation that want to take their health into their own hands. And whether that is to do with the fact that they can't access mental health services, physical health services, so they want to take control of their own health, or whether it's actually because a lot of those bigger things, you know, like buying a house or getting married, feel so out of reach for this generation. Being able to just take small, meaningful bits of control of your life.
I think you've hit it on the head, Zoe, actually. And it's things like cutting out sugar, ultra-processed foods too. And it's all those things that you can control. And you know,
and so focus on that, and that gives you a little bit of, you know, stability, a little bit of...
So we may mock them, Generation Z, but there is a wholesome...
But we shouldn't. It's tough for them. It is tough for them. So if they want to have an ice bath, that's up to them.
Yeah, we don't have long left,
have an ice bath.
Can you tell us, there was a story about baby names.
Oh, I love this story.
30 seconds.
OK, very quickly, at the start of every year, we have the baby name story, and the Telegraph has highlighted its baby names, and, of course, Telegraph readers are very posh. So we've got Cosima, I would say my daughter's name's Cosima, Florence, Jemima, William, Harry and Charles. No Prince Andrew on that list, though. Or no Andrew, no baby Andrews being born.
What a surprise.
My producer's called Andrew. I'm a big fan of Andrew. Enzo and Lucia too, my children. Thanks so much for your time. Do stay with us. We'll be back after a short break.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?